You're going to get fired. You're going to be in so much trouble.
Yes, I want the Maserati. Yes, I won the Academy Award. I wanted it when I was 12, and I still want it to this day.
There are four components: your introduction, reflect on 2020, your story, what you'd like to say, and a message for teenagers. So I'm going to first ask you to do your introduction as if it was a documentary.
Devin, my name is Michael Dante, and I'm an award-winning actor. I was a celebrity talk show host for 12 years and an award-winning author. And I started out in life as an 18-year-old as a professional baseball player. I was a bonus ball player in the Boston Braves organization.
Now we're going to reflect a little bit on 2020. Everybody has their own story of how things kind of went for them. It's a landmark year. It's taught a lot of lessons. How was your year?
My year, of course, I was locked in like everybody else, but it was very productive. I finished 3 screenplays in my 4th book. So the time I utilized, because I'm not one to watch television and a couch potato. So I would be writing my screenplays and a book right along, but carrying on my life as well at the same time. But being locked in, I had nowhere to go. So the time I spent 100% of my time very productively and, of course, creatively writing 3 screenplays and my latest book. I'm so excited about it. We've done, I think, a very unique and great job with all the celebrities from the motion pictures and entertainment world. And of the 265 shows, 45 of them are Hall of Famers from the sports world. So it's very, very, very exciting and very unique. I think it's the only show like it in the world because I have an hour interview with each one of the stars, some of the greatest stars that ever lived.
So you've been on this side. You've been the interviewer. Could you tell me a little bit about that experience?
Oh, I want to share this with you, Devin, because it's very important, and your listeners who might like, radio or television as a career, that the greatest attribute you bring to television and being a host, radio or whatever, is listening. A talk radio host, television host, the more you listen, you cannot listen enough. Listen more and more and react. Do your homework. The main thing is to do your homework, because I've had stars, international stars that will give you a 1-word, 2-word answer and say, gee, you started out in show business at the ripe old age of 14. Did you have a stagecoach mother? No. Oh boy. Now you better have done your homework, because then you could feed back what you know if they did or not. Oh, I've read something where you didn't have a stage mother, but you had your grandmother that escorted you all of these places, interviews with directors and producers and so forth. So you have to do your homework, research, and the ability to listen is the greatest attribute you could bring to radio, being a host.
Right. I learned something that I learned from a local host. He said to me, you should always be able to find your next question in their answer. Is that true?
That's good. That's a very good one step ahead, and even sometimes, again, one step ahead of that, because you might be limited to time.
Yes.
So there's always a time schedule with interviews. You can't go on all day. So you have to be concerned about time and begin to realize less is more. less is always more, and concentrate what you want to say, but limit the longevity and not get long-winded. Then blow it on one subject matter rather than three or four you were scheduled to talk about.
Right. Cool. I actually have you mentioned paying attention to time. I just got an interview with Carol Burnett. I don't know if you know who she is.
Oh yeah. I met Carol a long time ago, very briefly. We're not friends or anything, but I met her briefly at a social event in Hollywood. But she's a marvelous talent, a wonderful woman, great contribution
Absolutely.
to our business.
Absolutely. So another thing that I'm putting together through this docu-series is giving actors, World War veterans, artists, authors, the chance to tell their story how they want it to be heard. So how would you tell your story?
Well, my story is so unique, it's so different. I started out as a professional ball player, and I was a bonus ball player. But
Right.
unfortunately, in my second year, I had arm problems. I was sore arm, and they didn't know too much about kinesiology in those days. Today, I would have been out maybe a week or 10 days and been back in action. But it was prolonged, and then I had to have an operation, and then decided that, uh, thanks to my doctor's advice, he said, I want you to go. I was thinking about going to the University of Miami of Florida to study drama, my second love, which is an acting career. So he said, that's exactly where I want you. I want you to go to some place where it's warm during the winter months, which it was at the time. And after the surgery, I attended the University of Miami of Florida as a drama major. And during the interim, my roommate, the great Mickey McDermott, left-handed pitcher with Red Sox, Yankees, and Washington Senators, and the St. Louis Cardinals, introduced me to Tommy Dorsey. We had dinner. Tommy was doing one-nighters up and down the east and west coast of Florida, and invited us to dinner. So I said, you know what, gee, I can't make it for dinner. I'll meet you for coffee because I'm doing rehearsing a play at Ring Theater at the university. He said, well, that's great, fine. Leave us a pass. We'll have a late dinner and we'll discuss what I see. And he and his manager came, and I left them a pass. We had a late dinner, and he said, look, I'm only going to tell you this once. He was a great leader, wonderful band leader, but a leader of men, very intelligent. And he said, I'm only going to tell you this once. There's one other uh, person that I had really believed in, helped a lot of people, but this other person I really believed that he did okay. His name was Frank Sinatra. So I said, really? I said, Tom, you really? He said, you've got all the attributes to be an actor. All you need is experience in front of the camera, but you on stage, you have great presence, you have a great voice. He said, you've got it. So if your arm doesn't respond, I'm going to the big leagues now. I'm invited by the Washington Senators to the big league club. So my boyhood dream came true. I'm now going to join the Washington Senators in March. And he said, well, here's my itinerary. We'll be in touch. And I want to arrange the screen tests at MGM Studios for you. So I'm going to leave it up to you. That's your decision. If your arm doesn't come around or it's slow coming around, I'll be playing at the home show at the Pan Pacific Auditorium in Hollywood for 2 weeks. I took a 2 weeks leave of absence, joined Tommy in Hollywood during that period of time. He arranged a screen test for me at MGM. I tested out at MGM. They signed me to a contract, and I never went back to baseball. 30 films, 150 television shows later.
I read that. That's unbelievable.
It really is an amazing. And then, of course, I became an author, and I won the literacy award in Marshfield, Missouri, in 2018 at their Cherry Blossom Festival, which I was very proud of. It was my first book, my autobiography, From
Right.
Hollywood to Michael Dante Way. Matter of
Right.
fact, I have a book here. I'll show you that. It's a hardcover, and get a look at it. I looked a
Wow.
little different in those days, Devin. But from Hollywood to Michael Dante Way, which is my journey from Hollywood to Michael Dante Way, which is the name of the street that was named after me in Stamford, Connecticut, my hometown. So it's been a great journey, a wonderful life, and I can't believe the divine guidance and so many wonderful things that happened along the way. But I would like to share some of those thoughts and advice to your students. My advice, Devin, is they um, each one of us is born with something. God has gifted us something within, so that young people have to, along with uh, good teachers, recognize what that talent, that ability is, whether it's intellect, whether it's the arts, whatever it is, to develop that and to realize what their interests are and fall in love with that interest like a piece of art. If it's a piece of art, you're going to give it your best with all your heart and soul to be good and
Absolutely.
try to be perfect. But to realize these along the way, these moments, and not let them go awry and get lost in somewhere and not take advantage of all the opportunities we have in our educational system and the wonderful thing that we have as human beings. The greatest contribution you and I and students can make to the world is individuality to a democratic society. See, we each generation has to create and invent and then
Absolutely.
pass it on to the next generation so that we can progress as a civilization as we have in the past. Right now, I think what has happened to our country and in the world, groups are formed. They've stifled individuality in thinking, and so that the creative minds and inventions have been sidetracked with toys, with material things, and people aren't talking with one another more. I urge students to put their wonderful gifts, their communications with other people and other things, but speak with one another. If share human emotions, share
Yeah.
thoughts while looking at someone, in their eyes and exchange their feelings about whatever the subject matter is. We need more of that, and I find that there's so much mechanical things that young people now are enamored with. I think it delays the growth of invention and creativity. They should treat whatever their interests are like a piece of art and go for it and just put your best foot forward and try to be the best you can to you and the person you're communicating with or working for.
Thank you. That was wonderful. I agree with everything you said, and a lot of people my age. I'm 17, so a lot of people my age are twiddling their thumbs in a way. This documentary series or documentary, whatever I decide to do with the series of interviews that I'm doing right now, is really focusing on speaking to the younger generation. And so you mentioned how we have to do things for the younger generation because ultimately they are going to be what's next. If it will just help one or two people find their passion and just find the motivation to, like you said, treat it like a piece of art, that's the goal. So I really appreciate you being a part of this.
Well, you're on the right track, Devin. I respect you for that. At your age, I think it's the right direction to share with your colleagues and the young people of the world because you're going to be talking to and with, and they'll see you visually on the internet and share all those your thoughts. And please remind them the greatest contribution one can make is individuality to a democratic society. And just think about invention, creation, just work with what God gave you with all your passion and just go for it. The results will be there. Just treat it like a piece of art, and the results will be there, Devin. I promise you. The hard work, the thousands of hours I dedicated myself to my theater groups. I belong to the Actors Studio. I belong to Theater East, Theater West, groups in California and Hollywood. That thousands of hours I worked to develop my craft so that nobody could rock my boat. I could work with any actor in the world and with my presence and with my understanding of my craft and what I could do, what I can't do. I will challenge anybody I can work with because I know my craft. I paid my dues, but that takes lots of hundreds of hours in dedication and passion for the objective that I wanted to that I worked for and wanted to achieve. So the results will be there if you're willing to dedicate yourself. Your audience, young people, you've got to dedicate yourself. Particularly, we're talking about the arts. If an actor or a radio or television host, you have to pay your dues. You have to be prepared to know your craft and just work as hard as you can. And once you're comfortable in that cocoon, you can go in any direction and be as comfortable and be as professional as you possibly can.
And I just wanted to ask, out of curiosity, from what you can see in your frame behind you, would you be willing to tell us anything about what you have on your wall?
Yes. You see the leather piece here, the shirt. Yeah, that dress was worn in Winterhawk. I played the title role. I played the title role in the film Winterhawk, which was a tremendous success critically and of course financially. And I wore that shirt. Unfortunately, the sequence I wore that in the film was cut out. But
right.
They gave me that. That was done by David Powell, a wonderful set decorator and set designer, and he was just a wonderful artist. He's a fine painter. He paints, and his artwork is displayed in galleries throughout Arizona, Wyoming, and Montana. David Powell. David created that and presented that to me as a gift after we finished the film. And the bow behind it, the bow and arrow behind it, the long hunting bow, which is the longest one that protrudes out, that was given to me by George Montgomery. That belonged to George Montgomery, wonderful Western actor who was married to Dinah Shore at once, and wonderful, talented sculptor, painter. He was everything. God, he furniture. He made antique furniture that the likes of which I have never seen. He was just a brilliant artist, wonderful man. These are other pictures behind me by artists that I had met along the way who had loved my work in Winterhawk. That was really a very special a movie for me to do, to be selected. Maybe maybe a half of 1% of the actors that ever lived had the good fortune to play a title role. And I had the good fortune to be selected to play Winterhawk. And so I had an affinity, a wonderful vision and a passion for this character. I've always been a leader. I've always leadership qualities. And to play a leader of a nation, this was something very special. And the fact that I made him, it wasn't written, I made him a religious man. He believed in all of the elements that the Great Spirit had given us. And adding the layer of character based on his spiritual beliefs gave the nuances, lots of nuances in my choices during filming this character and putting him on the screen. So that he and the Blackfoot Nation loved what I did. They honored me for my work. Every decision I made, Devin, was based on a spiritual essence, whether it was the wind, the sun, the moon, the sky, the water, the trees, or wildlife, not based on ego.
Right.
You see? So when I made a decision, I always moved to something that I had heard in the wind or the sound of something that connected me with the Almighty, the Great Spirit. So it was something very special for me. Was my favorite role. I loved 4 or 5 of them that were my favorites for whatever reasons, different reasons. But this was one-dimensional further. It was something that I made a marriage with a character that I thoroughly enjoyed from beginning to end. It was that art piece that I treated with passion that made the marriage of the two of us.
That's very, very inspiring and such a great honor, I believe. Wow.
Thank you. Thank you.
But that's about all the questions that I have for you. If there's anything else that you'd like to promote or speak on, feel free.
Devin, I would like to share, since we're talking about Winterhawk, that can be seen on the YouTube right now for free. Yeah. It's an hour and 39 minutes. I'm sure the audience will find it interesting based on some of the things that I just mentioned. By the way, I'm sorry, on Amazon Prime, you could see it as well.
Okay.
Devin, and I want to say your audience can go online and see my 4 books. They're all for sale. You contact me on my website, Michael Dante Way at AOL.com. Here are the other 2 books. Winterhawk's Land, which is the sequel to Winterhawk, and 6 Road Home. Now, Winterhawk's Land is the sequel to. I didn't want the character to die. I own the sequel rights to it, so I had the story that I synopsis, and then wrote a screenplay, having obtained the screen rights, and wanted Winterhawk to live after the end of the film, because Clayana, Dawn Wells, the actress who played her, did a wonderful job, who just passed away.
Dawn Wells passed away?
Yeah, she passed away about a month ago. Yeah.
I got to meet Dawn one time.
Yeah, she died of the COVID-19. Yeah. And unfortunately, she was a lovely human being and a wonderful actress. And she played Clayana. And she, of course, at the end of the film, I don't know if you ever saw the film, Devin, but when you see it, she comes off with me in the end, the white girl with Winterhawk. So I wanted the character to live on, and that relationship and the story of the people. And 6 Road Home is a story of 6 horse soldiers that muster out after the Civil War, survived the 4 years of the Civil War, and muster out at Appomattox. General Meade surrenders. Now they're going home. Going home to what?
Right.
I was inspired by writing it because I thought our servicemen and women, since the beginning of time, since the beginning of war, when they went off to war and they were lucky to survive, now are coming home. They all share the same emotions, or they shared the same emotions. The names and the places changed, but not the same emotions. The fear, the insecurities, the doubts. What is their love life going to be like? Their environment, all of those things. The human beings, men and women, experience. Even in Afghanistan today, the men and women coming back from Iraq and Afghanistan and other places, coming home to what? Sharing those same feelings and emotions. And these six horse soldiers come home, and it's not very pleasant. It's nobody rides off in the sunset, but it's a wonderful book. I'm so proud of it. And an ending like you've never seen in a Western before. Positively, never. That was my third book. And my fourth book is about my talk radio show for 12 years, celebrity talk shows with 265 shows I did in 12 years, from A to Z. You name the actors and actresses and Hall of Famers from the football, baseball, boxing, basketball and golf and tennis, you name them.
Yeah.
So it's all there. And these three books are for sale. The fourth book will be coming out, I would say, within a couple of months. I would say by June, I should have my fourth book, which is called My Classic Radio Interviews with the Stars. My Classic Radio Interviews with the Stars. It'll be just 60 interviews and 60 pictures with about 3 pages of info of the interview, plus an 8x10 picture of each one, to all my friends, and I'll have maybe 3 or 4 volumes. This is the first volume, and it's only 60 celebrities, 60 stars for the first book. So I'll just continue to write and keeping busy. Yeah, so out of something terrible, the pandemic, for me, thank God, the time I spent very constructively and creatively. So, they can go on my website, michaeldanteway.com, simple, and see everything. The 265 interviews are listed,
right,
with all of the celebrities. I think you went on it, Devin. So
I did.
And then they can email me if they're interested in purchasing pictures or any of the 3 books that I've written.
Thank you so much for joining me on the Dev Show. It was a great experience, and thank you for all your work.
Devin, I'm so proud of you at your age, and you're starting at the right time, starting young, and have all the enthusiasm. Do your homework, do your research, and I think people like myself that have so much to offer are willing to share with you, and particularly, the young people. I want to share that with the young people, leaving after I'm long gone, and leaving some of the sharing the thoughts and some of my work and experiences with the likes of the young people, so that you can propagate and pass that down to the next generation. So I think you're doing a great job, and I thank you for inviting me and on the show, and maybe we'll do it again when the book comes out. Who knows?
Absolutely, 100%.
But God bless you, and you're doing a great job. Keep up the good work.
Thank you.